Hi guys, today we have a different format for the whiteboard sessions. I wanted to interview Jesús. Jesús is a teacher at DSR and he was a former participant. He went into a company where he did really great things, and I wanted to interview him to get in the channel as much as we can from his experience, because I think it's a very illuminating one. So Jesús Blanco, welcome to the channel. And today we are going to talk about what does it take for a physics PhD to become somebody who can talk to decision makers, right? This is a step up from a normal data scientist that is just doing things in his corner of the company, right? And it's a big step up from somebody who comes from academia where you normally are not connected to value, right? So just tell us how you got to where you are and how did you start?
Yeah, I mean, basically, I was a PhD in physics that came here to Berlin to do a postdoc. So I was basically working in academia in a research lab for many years. And at some point, I had to decide whether I should continue working or pursuing the scientific career or doing what ultimately I think is really what motivates me, which is like data analysis, data modeling, and so on. So at some point, I found out the advertisement from a data science retreat, the bootcamp that I joined also as a student back in 2015. And yeah, I mean, for me, it was really a game changer. First of all, not only I learned a lot of things from the master classes that you get here, something that you could easily get from online courses anyway. But for me, the biggest value was, of course, the fact that I could first of all understand what the industry requires or needs from a data scientist, but also the network, right? For me, the network part was very important, to build a network, build connections, and ultimately was what drove me to getting my first job in the industry as a data scientist.
Right. So the person who you joined for this company where you are in was also a data science retreat graduate.
Correct.
And he kind of left at the same time that you arrived. So can you tell us more about this?
Yeah, Jörg. So Jörg was also a student with me at DSR in my batch. And right after the DSR, we, of course, were all looking for a job. He was joining FlixBus. I was joining another company called Life Intent, where, by the way, I learned lots of things. I mean, I was surrounded by really terrific and very smart engineers, and that was also very important for my career as a data scientist. Not only being able to model data and so on, something that I could do even before joining the industry, but being able to make these things run in production, right? So productize these things is very important, and it's something that you cannot get unless you get the knowledge and the advice from smart engineers, pretty much. That was the key thing.
In this day and age, being a data scientist who doesn't have production skills is really a handicap. Everybody is starting to expect data scientists to be good at production as well, which is a stretch, but nobody said that it was fair what people ask of data scientists nowadays.
Correct. Yeah, and of course, ultimately the market is very competitive, and these days, pretty much you have to have that kind of skill, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, continuing with the story with Jörg. So Jörg was joining FlixBus, and ultimately was because of him and because I met him here at DSR and I became a friend of him that I joined FlixBus. And yeah, that was also a very nice step in my career. Yeah, that's
right. And then Jörg left to start a company himself. His startup is now named the second best in Germany. I don't remember exactly, but it's a working, successful startup, which is saying a lot.
Exactly.
Yeah. And then you inherited kind of a team and a sort of product that was kind of in the early stages, right?
Yeah, I mean, Jörg and his colleagues were working for a number of years on the revenue management system that is currently running in FlixBus. So I inherited that project. That was at that time pretty much like a working prototype that was in the testing phase when I joined. So, I mean, obviously one of my first tasks was to guarantee that this thing would run properly, to maintain it, fix whatever problems could happen, but also to scale it up, right? Which is probably the most important thing, or the most valuable thing for the company, to scale this system up. Yeah.
Okay, so then you had this thing that could go into production. And how does this work? This Stakeholder Whisperer part of it, right? So you have to talk to actual people who make decisions. This is a big step up from being a PhD in physics, right?
Yeah, in a way, I mean, for me, it was also a new scenario, a new experience. I had to learn lots of things. I mean, not only about this, but also about, for example, recruiting, right? So it was obvious at some point that the company needed more data scientists. So I had to spend a lot of time and effort in interviewing, recruiting data scientists for my team and for some other teams that were formed. So it was also a nice experience. And apart from that, for me, one of the most important things that I realized in the first minute I joined FlixBus was the fact that I had to make the product, the fancy IT data science solution that we were building, to make it as transparent and as trustable as possible to stakeholders. Right. So for me, building that kind of bridge and a strong bridge was one of my first priorities. Yeah.
Oh yeah, the bridge building. This is the what does it take, right? So tell us exactly what you did.
Right. I mean, there are many things that you can do. Obviously, apart from your job as a data scientist, like being a computer monkey, you also have to be. It's also a question of attitude, right? Being proactive, asking, answering questions even before they are asked. And of course, providing every required detail so that this thing can be understandable. And apart from that, there are many other things that you can do. I mean,
right. So there is one thing that I should say here that's impossible to disagree with Jesús. Everybody who knows him thinks that. So it's, probably that's something that is hard to replicate. But tell us things that you, like anybody aspiring data scientist who may see himself or herself in this position, could do. What could you do? What did you do that worked and it's replicable?
Right. There was one initiative that I took at some point, actually recently, which was to build small, short video vlogs, kind of YouTube format. The idea of that is not to wait for the stakeholder to ask for whatever detail on your product, or not limit yourself to explain the details of your project in a kind of a meetup event or something like that, but also to build something that is recorded and is posted there so that everybody, not only stakeholders, but everybody in the company can enjoy and can learn from it. So the idea was to really create very short videos, 5-10 minutes, explaining honestly fairly technical stuff, but in layman terms, of course, something that can be understandable. And this for me was very important because, first of all, brings transparency to what we are doing and the trust, which is essential ultimately for the success of a product, right?
Wow, that's a huge thing. An investment on your side that is very big.
Yeah.
But it brings a lot of value for you, like the trust of people who are going to work with you and are going to sign the checks at the end, to whether you can hire more people or you can put your thing in production, right?
Correct, yeah.
That's awesome. So we're going to do another video with more details about exactly what you did, like technically, to bring millions to FlixBus. So see you in the next video.